As you can see in the picture, she looks a lot like someone that we know.
Link.
Who does she look like?
Link.
All around me are familiar faces.
Cold Beet Soup is a podcast for casual fans who want to explore lore and fandom rabbit holes in music and gaming.
And are sad sometimes.
It's recording!
All right. First time with Discord, and we had minimal tech issues. We did a good
Yeah.
job. Yay, good job, us.
Yes.
This is how it's gonna be from now on, so hopefully, hopefully you guys like it. Otherwise, too bad.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, today's topic is actually I'm gonna make it's a multi-part. It's our first multi-part episode because I realized as I was getting into this that it's gonna be a lot. And if I do it in one episode, it's gonna be way too long. Because I mentioned Zelda last week, and then I fell into the rabbit hole. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna look into the Zelda timeline. Ah, geez, it splits into three. Ah, geez, it's been retconned a few times. Ah, geez. Oh my gosh, shit. So, I do have a presentation ready for the first portion, um, but I will definitely have to go into it further. For today, I'm just covering before the split. So interestingly, um, Hyrule Historia, the book I told you about last week, where it's
Mm-hmm.
just like the thick book, that was Nintendo's official publication of the timeline. But then other games came out, such as Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, the two most recent ones, and it kind of I don't even know where they would fit in. So that's something like I didn't even want to get into that. I figured, hey, let's just do this beginning portion, which is generally agreed upon. Like people, for the most part, agree on it. Nintendo did say like you can make your own theories, and when I researched, I did see some wild theories out there. But I'm just sticking with the Hyrule Historia to start. When I research for the later parts, I don't know where it's gonna go. I didn't get that far because I spent a lot of time looking at it. I'm gonna pull it up right now just so I have it ready.
Alright, we're gonna
But yeah,
switch views here. There we go, we're tiny now.
ooh, that's okay. Um, but yeah, it was a lot. So for context, this is going to be a presentation of the Zelda timeline, the beginning portion for people that know nothing about Zelda. Like when I asked Vicky about this, what was your response, Vicky?
I
When I
know
asked you,
I know Link and Zelda.
and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you that are fans, you're gonna be like, oh geez, yeah. So I'm gonna have to explain a lot of characters. But if you're brand new to the series and you're like, what's the deal with these Zelda games everybody talks about? Then this is the presentation for you because I'm really gonna deep dive into who all the players are. Um, and to start, so this is what we're going to cover today. This is the timeline from Hyrule Historia. I just took the snippet out, and we're actually only covering 4 games. Now, for the Zelda games, there's like over 20, but it was just because um, I'm sorry, I feel like I'm talking loud, so I'm just gonna move my headphone off so my neighbors aren't like, why is she yelling
They're like, why is she
in her
talking
house?
about Zelda so much?
Like, she's so weird. I've heard her do this 4 times today because I was rehearsing to like make sure I covered stuff. Like, she's at it again. But yeah, so we're only gonna cover 4 games, but the reason why is you also have to cover like this stuff in between, which is important. On my first go through, I skipped it, so that was a bad idea because then I went back to it later. I was like, oh, I didn't explain this. I didn't explain that. And also for context, the timeline is messy. Just to keep it a buck 50, it's messy. So I will try to give the best explanation for things that I found. But the thing is, like, Nintendo didn't officially explain it, so I'm just trying to fill in the blanks in the best way that I can. Because I'm a logic brain person. So I was like, well, why would they do this? And I had to look into it. So just for your context. And I'll explain that during the presentation too. So, without further ado, gotta create the world because there was no world to start. So, there are three golden goddesses who descended upon the chaos known as Hyrule, and these are like the OGs. They're just some goddesses that decided to make this world. So the one on the far left, Din, she is the one that's red. She is the goddess of power, and she created the earth itself. Then you have Nairu on the far right, who's usually symbolized by the color blue. She's the goddess of wisdom. She created order on the world. And then Faror is the one in the middle. She's the goddess of courage, and she made the life itself. So the three of them combined, just they created this world, and they're like, "Wow, we did a great job." Then, once they were done, they were going to leave to go back to the heavens where they live. But before doing that, they decided to make the Triforce, which you see in this screenshot here. I chose this picture because it's from Twilight Princess, which is not a game we're covering today, but I just like the picture because I like that each of the goddesses like has their hand on the piece of the
Mm-hmm.
Triforce because it's three pieces. So there's the Triforce of power, the Triforce of wisdom, the Triforce of courage, symbolizing each goddess. And together with these powers combined, the Triforce will grant the wishes of whoever has it. So it's pretty powerful stuff. Looking at it, I'm like, why would they make something like this if it can be abused as we see in the games?
Right.
Because I was like, why would you? Kind of oversight, right? And the best explanation I could find really was that it's the goddess's way of giving hope to all the mortal beings in Hyrule. And I was like, oh, so optimistic. But as we'll see, people try to abuse it. So now that you have this super powerful thing, you don't want to just kind of leave it out just without any
Out and
protection.
about.
Yeah, out and about would be kind of crazy. So they decided to give it to the goddess Hylia, who, as you can see in the picture, she looks a lot like someone that we know.
Link.
Who does she look like?
Link.
I
Am I?
can't tell if you're trolling. I can't see your face.
Oh, you can't see my
Your face
face?
because I have the presentation up. So I was like, is she messing with me right now? Are you trolling, dude? Please tell me you're trolling.
Well, Link has blonde hair, right? God, if you're there.
Jesus, take the wheel.
No,
So
I'm trolling. I'm trolling.
I'm already like, I hate this. Kill me now. Yeah, she looks a lot like Zelda. And there's a
Oh,
reason.
I. Okay, now makes sense. Okay.
I think so there's a reason for that. I'll get into it in a couple slides, but just keep that on the back of your mind. So they gave it to her because one of the rules of the Triforce is that divine beings like gods and goddesses actually can't use the power. Only mortals can. So they're like,
Mm.
okay, we can trust her because she can't do anything with it. Um, so she's holding on to it. Now we're going into the era of the goddess of Hylia, which is exactly as it sounds. It's the time where, it's her time.
Mm.
Um, during this time as well, it's important to note that they construct two temples. I think it's the goddesses, like when they make the planet. They don't really explain, because I was thinking about this too. I was like, well, where did they come from? But they constructed two temples. One is called the Temple of Hylia, which is also known as the Sealed Temple. And then they also construct the Temple of Time. And both of these have gates of time in them. Gates of time are used for time travel. So I wanted to mention this now because both of these locations are going to come up fairly soon. So, because when I did this originally, I was like, Zelda goes to the Temple of Time, and I was like, she's not gonna know what the hell that is.
Nope.
She's gonna be like, what is that? So this is, and like, when did they create them? Because that was another thing. I had probably 4 or 5 tabs open trying to find a good answer for that. So this was the period of time where these were constructed. Because these two buildings really, one more so than the other, really show up in almost all the games, I want to say, very many of the games. So it's an important location.
Okay.
So they got their world, they're vibing. All of a sudden, this guy comes out. Ooh, he doesn't seem nice. He's a demon king. His name is Demise. And he
Wow.
decided he wants the Triforce, and he wants to make the world his own. And he raised an army, and he caused a lot of trouble. Um, where did he come from? Well, all the wiki says is that Demise comes from a fissure in the ground. And I was like, but why is there a crack in the ground, yo? Like,
Right.
you had a nice world with fairies and goddesses. Like, so there's actually no official explanation, but based on what I found 2 theories that I liked. One of them was that when the goddesses created life and made this whole Hyrule, it was like an oversight, like, oopsie poopsie, guess we made demons on accident, which it can happen. The other theory, this theory I really liked, was that this crack was actually connected to a place called Lorule, which is a dark mirror world of Hyrule. Now, we're not going to talk about Lorule today. It shows up in other games,
Mm-hmm.
but in Lorule, their Triforce was actually destroyed. So it would make sense that he would be from this realm and like be like, oh, I want a Triforce because we don't have any. So I thought that was cool. This was a Reddit theory, so it's not, it's just someone, but it was a very long comment, and I thought it was very well thought out and interesting. So yeah, Demise comes. That's not cool. We don't like him. And Hylia, she took the humans and actually brought them up to the sky to this little place, which you see in the slide here. It's called Skyloft.
Okay.
Because she's like, Demise is on Earth. We're gonna put the humans safe and high up in the sky. And she also hid the Triforce there. She's like, okay, you guys are tucked away. I'm gonna go back to the surface, gather all the tribes here. We're gonna fight Demise and seal him away. And she did that. She got super injured though, and she had a feeling that the seal that they placed on Demise was not gonna hold, and he's gonna come back eventually, and she needs to come up with some plan for when that happens. So what she did was one of the main things was, okay, Triforces can't be wielded by gods. Well, what if I renounce myself being a divine being and I transfer my soul to the body of a mortal? And one day that mortal's going to come of age when Demise returns. So this person, the basically me, can take the Triforce and be like, no, 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 you can't do that. So this mortal that she's talking about becomes Zelda. So Zelda is a direct descendant, basically, of Hylia. She's just Hylia reincarnated as a mortal.
Okay.
Um, and she goes. We'll get into that a little bit more because there's another tidbit about that I want to mention. Um, so that was plan number one. She's like, okay, I won't be a god anymore, but then at least I can wield the Triforce and like protect it from bad people like Demise. The second thing she did was create something called the Goddess Sword, which you see on this slide here, and the spirit Fee. It's either Fee or Phi, but she is her role is just to be a guide for the hero. Um, some hero is going to come along. He's going to reveal himself, and he's going to take this sword from the pedestal that it's in, and whoever's worthy will take it out. It's kind of like Excalibur, I think it is, like the
Yeah.
sword in the stone,
Mm-hmm.
like you're worthy. So that's how she did that. So this was her plan. And she's like, all right, I'm good. Now we're going we're done with her era, and now we're moving on to the Sky era, and we're gonna talk about Skyward Sword, which is the first game in the timeline. So this is like centuries go by, and Hylia gets reborn as Zelda in the place called Skyloft. She's the one we see on the far left, looking looking all cute and stuff. But she has no memory of her past. So she has no idea that she was a goddess. She's just out here living her best life without a clue in the world. Um, in Skyloft, they have something called the Wing Ceremony, which is it's an annual event um, for they have this Knight Academy, and it's just a race. And whoever wins this race gets to play the role of the goddess's hero in their formal ceremony. So it's interesting because this happens as I was studying, I was like, oh, this happens a lot. So in the Zelda games, they usually have some sort of like ceremony or history that they honor,
Mm-hmm.
but then it ends up like happening in the game. So with this, in the wing ceremony this year, Zelda's playing the goddess, surprise, surprise, and you as the player, Link, are trying to win because you're going to be the hero. So that's kind of how it starts out.
Okay.
Um, so after the ceremony, Zelda gets actually tossed to the surface by a huge tornado summoned by the guy in the middle. He's a demon lord. His name is Jirahim. Who the hell is this guy? He's just a guy that serves Demise. His whole goal is to bring Demise back so then Demise can take over and they can rule the world. But thankfully, someone named Impa, who you see on the far right, comes and saves Zelda and helps Zelda remember her past. And Impa's a cool character. Impa is actually actually a family name, and it's for female members of Sheikah. The tribe is called Sheikah. They're a mysterious tribe, just one of the many tribes in Hyrule. But their role is actually to serve and protect the royal family of Hyrule for generations and generations. What's interesting about this is at this time, Zelda is not a princess yet. She's just some chick. So that was another thing that I was like, okay, well, how did Impa know to save Zelda? She's just some chick.
Right.
And the best yeah, because I was like, okay, so people get snatched up all the time. No, people get whirled up by tornadoes. Hey,
Yeah, like
why
Dorothy,
does she
right?
matter? Yeah, like where was Impa for Dorothy? She
Right.
wasn't around. Thanks, Impa. Anyways, uh, but the best explanation that I could find, which I still think is kind of flimsy, but I just think it's because a lot of these things, like Nintendo, put stuff in because it fits in the game, but they don't necessarily think about the lore behind it. And I've noticed this with some of the details. But the best explanation I can find was in the past, when Hylia came up with her plan, she was talking to the Sheikah tribe, the OG Sheikah tribe, and was like, hey, one day some chick's gonna show up looking like me. Just make sure you have her back. And they're like, all right. And that's probably Impa being like, oh, that's her. This is my time. Which again, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, one thing I wanted to mention before going to the next slide, because we've already brought up Link and we've already brought up Zelda a little bit. You asked me their relationship. Like,
Yes.
what is their relationship in these games? And the answer is actually it depends. Um, so some games they're friends, other games there's like you can see that there's slight romantic interest, but it's never the main focus of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, um, I think Nintendo, they know like the focus is, for adventure and all that, so they don't put too much romance in it. But there are hints for sure. And then in other games, they don't know each other at all. I think it's Twilight Princess. It's just like a business. She's like, "You need to help me," and he's like, "Okay, ma'am." Like it's something like
Mm-hmm.
that. And even other games, there's no Link or there's no Zelda. So it depends. In this particular case, they are friends.
Okay.
So in Skyward Sword, they're just friends that live in the same in Skyloft. So Impa just saves Zelda. Now they go to the Temple of Time because Impa knows that Girahim is gonna try to fuck shit up, and so they escape through the gate of time. So they actually travel back in time, and Impa destroys the gate, so that way Girahim can't follow. But Link is also stuck there, so he's like, "Oh, what do I do?" So before Impa destroys the gate, she says, "Hey, go see this old lady in the sealed grounds," which was the old Temple of Hylia. Um, so he's like, "Okay." So then he goes, and this old woman tells him, "Hey, you have this sword with you." Turns out it's the Goddess Sword. And if you want to open this gate of time to go see Zelda, you got to power up your swords. He's like, okay, I'll go do that. So he goes and does that, opens up the second gate of time. So right now, there's only one gate of time left because the other one is broken. So this
Mm.
old Temple of time, it's no more. All we have is the sealed grounds. Now, uh, Zelda, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, he goes in the past to find Zelda because he finally powers up his sword. He finds Zelda. They chat. She's like, "Oh yeah, I'm a goddess. Haha. Didn't know about that. Sorry to drag you into this mess." It's actually I just watched this cutscene and it was really sad because she's like, "Well, I gotta seal myself away in this amber crystal, and you have to go and find the Triforce and destroy Demise. As long as I seal myself away, Demise can't come for me." And I was like, "Holy crap!"
Dang.
And Link like hits on the crystal. He's like, "Oh, it's super sad." I was like, "Holy crap!" So that's what happens. Zelda tells him to go do that. You spend the game doing that, and then finally you locate the Triforce, you use it to destroy Demise, and you free Zelda. However, right afterwards, Girahim shows up, that rascal. He kidnaps Zelda to resurrect Demise in that past, and he's like, "Oh, geez." So then they go through the gate again. Link goes to find Girahim, beats him, beats Demise again, and in this screenshot you see that he has the black smoke. That's Demise's, life essence, and he
Okay.
captures it in the sword. So Demise is sealed away. Right before Demise is sealed away, he curses Link and Zelda's bloodlines, and he said, "This is a cycle that's going to repeat. It's gonna be you, Zelda, and the guy, my descendant, who's gonna be Ganondorf. He's the main antagonist in most of the games.
Oh, okay.
There's gonna be some sort of cycle, and this is gonna happen forever, which explains why there's so many games. And it's always interesting because like Zelda is always Zelda. For the royal family, they always name their daughter Zelda, and they're always like a descendant of Hylia 100% through the line. But Link is not always the same Link, because Link is just some guy that like reincarnated. He can be in one game he's like some little kid who thought he was a forest sprite, and this other one he's a blacksmith. So that's
Mm.
what's interesting. Zelda's always Zelda, but Link is not always Link. So that's
Oh.
kind of cool. Yeah, which makes it even more confusing. But yeah.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
yeah, it's like, geez Louise. So then Link and Zelda return to the present. Impa actually stays in the past to watch over the Master Sword. And Zelda and Link decide they want to live on the surface, and they have the Triforce with them. So they're going to watch over the Triforce. Some other people from Skyloft 2 came and they populated the surface world, and their descendants became known as Hylians. And then the land was officially named Hyrule. So, yay! It all ends so happy. So that's how Skyward Sword ends. Now there's a little portion in between the next game. The next game we're going to talk about is Minish Cap. But before that, Hyrule actually enters an era of chaos,
Mm.
which is exactly how it sounds. So, since the Triforce is out, it makes me think of like Lord of the Rings, where like people can sense this powerful thing because they have like the one true ring. So
Right.
like the Triforce is so powerful. And they're like, well, what if I had it? What if I had this power?
Mm.
So a bunch of wars start both in Hyrule and in this place called the Sacred Realm. What the hell is the Sacred Realm? Well, it turns out there's all these realms connected to Hyrule in some way. There's a Twilight Realm, there's a Sacred Realm, there's a Dark Realm. The Sacred Realm is considered more of like a holy realm. Um, it's just connected to Hyrule, but it's not like a mirror of it. It's just connected to it. It's just a um, different realm. That's it. So these sorcerers are there, and they're known as interlopers, and they want to take over the sacred realm, and because they want to fuck shit up. I don't know. The goddesses were like, "Nuh-uh." They actually intervened, and they banished those sorcerers into the Twilight Realm. So that's all like, okay, we cleaned up the mess over there. Now we got the mess in Hyrule with everybody fighting. So to end the wars, this guy named Rauru, who's a sage, well, I'll go over who the hell he is in a second. He built a new Temple of Time on top of those sealed grounds, on top of the sealed remains, because that's where the gate is. So apparently this gate is also an entrance to the Sacred Realm. Who knew? So he used the Master Sword and 3 spiritual stones as like keys to get inside, to make it more challenging for people. The spiritual stones you see in this picture here, you have the emerald. I think it almost symbolizes like the 3 goddesses because the blue one looks like the wisdom logo. Then you have the green and the red for the other goddesses. But yeah, um, 3 spiritual stones and the master key. And then he also takes the Triforce. He's like, it shouldn't be in this realm. Let's put it in the sacred realm. So he puts it in a place called the Temple of Light, which is just a temple in the sacred realm. Um, and the only way you can get in is if you use the Master Sword and you get the 3 spiritual stones. They're like, we are not making this easy for people. It was way too easy before. Now we're sealing this shit away. Cool. Uh, who the hell is Rauru? Um, this was another thing. Sages just exist. Like, I guess the sages are just defenders of Hyrule, and they're not consistent through the games.
Okay.
So, like, in Ocarina of Time, there's 7 of them. In other games, there's like 5 of them, and they're not always the same people. So this, I don't know why they did this. I'm sure as I start reading more, because in these first few games, I didn't go over the sages too much. Um, just because like timeline wise, it doesn't matter. Like with Rauru, it matters, right? Because he brought the Triforce over, so that was important. But for other games, like they help out, but I don't think I was like, I'm not gonna get into the nitty gritty. It's just they're protectors of Hyrule. They exist. Some of them know they're sages, others don't know. Like Rauru knows he's a sage. Apparently, he's like an OG, so he's like one of the ancient ones. But that was another thing that I was trying to find an answer, and Nintendo's like, shrug. We just made a deal with it. Like, okay. So yeah, they just help out. That's like the best explanation I found. I know it's not much.
Okay.
So cool. Now the Triforce is put away. Hooray. Then they go into something called the Era of Prosperity. Zelda's descendants establish the Kingdom of Hyrule and become its royal family. So now they're officially royalty. Awesome. Now we go into the Force era. This is where Minish Cap is gonna come in. So this is interesting because it almost seems like a kind of different it's a similar storyline, but not. So during this era, Hyrule was attacked by evil beings. They didn't say who, just that they were evil. The Minish, known to the Hylians as Picori, descended from the sky to save Hyrule. The Minish are these guys on the left. They're so cute. They're like these little
Mm-hmm.
guys, got the pointy ears, super cute. Um, they also brought down the Picori blade and the Light Force to the hero of man who you see on the right. So they're like, here's these things to help you fight. Now, the Picori blade, not the same as the Master Sword. So, but there's parallels to it. And
Okay.
also the Light Force, not the same as the Triforce. The Light Force is a source of energy that originates within all living things. It's almost like the Force in Star Wars. So I'm like, okay. No real explanation of that. I think it's just they made this game. They wanted to draw some similarities, and this is where it fits into the great timeline of things, which thinking at it, it could almost be like, okay, well, this is just like a reincarnation of, these are just the descendants. Like society changes over time, and this is one of the changes. The Minish decided to help in this way. So
Right.
this hero seals these evil beings in something known as a bound chest. I imagine it's just a big chest locked away. He locked it with the Picori blade. And now to commemorate this event, they have a festival once a year called the Picori Festival. And during this festival, there's a sword fighting tournament. Whoever wins, you get to touch the Picori blade. Ooh, super exciting. Now we're going to start Minish Cap. On the 100th anniversary of the festival, corrupted, power-seeking Minish named Vati wins the tournament. And Vati's the guy you see in the slide. He's one of my favorite villains. I just like how he looks. I think he looks really cool.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he's got that purple. Yeah, he's a
Mm.
cool dude. During the ceremony, he breaks the blade and he opens the bound chest because he thought that there would be light force inside, but there wasn't. So he unleashed a bunch of evil onto Hyrule.
Nice,
He
nice.
also, it gets better. He also turned Zelda to stone.
Oh, hell yeah,
And
hell yeah.
then he kidnaps her because he's like, oh, she's got light force within her, because since she's a descendant of like, goddess,
Yeah.
she has more light force in her. And he also uses some of this light force to transform into a winged demon. And I was like, holy crap, lots
Okay.
of shit happened at once. So this is how Minish Cap starts. This was the first video game, actually. The first Zelda game that I ever played was Minish Cap when I was a kid.
Oh.
Yeah, I really liked it. I really liked it. I just liked it because of all the little guys, all these little guys you see in the slide, the little Minish. They're
Mm.
just so cute. Um, but anyways, so yeah, Zelda's frozen in stone, and Vati's just wrecking shit. There's all this evil. So Link in this scenario, he's just a blacksmith's apprentice, but he's also Zelda's friend. And the king enlists him to have the Picori blade reforged so they can use it to break the curse on Zelda. He teams up with this guy named Eslo. He's a Minish sage and Vati's former mentor. And he's actually the Hat. So he's a sage, but now he's just in hat form. And so that's Eslo. He's the Minish Cap because he's the chatting it up.
Oh.
So he helps Link throughout the game. So with Eslo's help, he reforges the Picori blade, but he also infuses it with 4 different elements to create the Four Sword. Ooh, fancy. And then with that, he vanquishes Vati, he breaks the curse on Princess Zelda. Zelda uses the Mage's Cap to bring Hyrule back to normal because there's all this evil around. Everyone's happy. Hooray. Good times. Well, no, Vati's back. Haha, just kidding. So they thought he was dead. Surprise, surprise. This explanation was one of the wildest. I was like, what the So now we're getting into the game known as Four Sword. I wonder why, because he just made a Four Sword.
Wow.
But yeah. Vati comes back, but he has no memory of his life, and he declares that he's the Wind Mage. He's like, I'm the Wind Mage now, and this is my palace. And I could not find, I was like, but why? Like, what the fuck? Like, he
just
and
cause.
Nintendo's just like, hashtag just Vati things. I'm like, oh, okay. So in this, a hero comes along. He has the Four Sword, seals the demon inside, and then puts the sword in a shrine in the Four Sword Sanctuary, just a sanctuary. Keep it tucked away. I find it really interesting that in these games we sealed him in a sword. Nice. With the possibility of the shit breaking open.
Right, yeah.
Like, it happens
They're like,
all
all
the
right,
time.
job done. Let's go home.
Yeah, like, who wants ice cream?
All right. They're like, all right, on to the next one.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Probably because they want to churn out more games, so whatever. But yeah, it's just a silly thing. So the way Four Swords starts, Zelda is a girl who has the power to sense evil, and she was told to guard this shrine. And she was like, she felt like something was off. She felt sussed out. And she's like, "Hey, Link, you're my friend. Can you help me investigate?" So they go to the shrine, and unfortunately, the seal on
Whoa.
Vati weakened, and then he escaped. He escaped out of the sword, and
What?
he escaped again. I know it's crazy, and he had no memory again. But he saw Zelda, and he's like, "Oh my God, you're beautiful. You're my bride now." And he just takes her away. Psycho. So Link took the Four Sword. He was guided by fairies. Fairies helped him out in this one. He took the Four Sword. He split into four, and he confronted Vati in the Palace of Winds, and then resealed them into the Four Sword. Yay! Screw you,
Huzzah!
Vati. This game I never played, so there might be more to it, but I don't know. Or maybe I did. I just don't remember this one very well. So that ends that. Now we're hitting the last era of our presentation, which is the era of the hero of time. Now Hyrule goes into a long period of civil war. During the war, a dying Hylian woman flees to the Kokiri Forest. Kokiri Forest is just some forest in Hyrule,
Okay.
and she entrusts her baby boy, Link, to the Great Deku Tree. Great Deku Tree is who you see in the picture. He's like the guardian of the forest.
Okay.
Because there are the Kokiri forest consists of Kokiri. They're just like small childlike beings who live in the forest. So they're just vibing. They just like hang out in the forest and chill out. And the Deku Tree just kind of watches over them, and they're all just living their best lives. And Link gets raised as a Kokiri in this particular
Okay.
scenario. The king of Hyrule does end the war, and he unifies the kingdom. Now, around this time, Ganondorf is born. We're going to talk about Ganondorf in a bit because he's a special guy. Uh, I also want to note before hitting the next slide that the Deku Tree is the one that's holding onto that Kokiri Emerald. So one of those three spiritual stones that you need to open the Temple of Time. The Deku Tree is the guardian of one of them. Now Ganondorf is this guy. Yeah,
Wow.
he's he's snatched, like, see his waist though, because he's kind of like no, but really, I saw that picture, I was like, dang, okay. He got, anyways, he is the main antagonist in a majority of the games. He is the leader of the Gerudo. The Gerudo are a tribe in Hyrule. They actually live in the desert, but he's the one, charged. And in public, he's like, "Oh yes, I am loyal to the king." But behind his back, he actually wants to open the door of time and take the Triforce for himself. Ah, so evil. So what he does is he actually curses the Great Deku Tree and tries to take the Kokiri Emerald from him. But the Deku Tree's like, "No, I'm not gonna do this." But he does end up dying. So the Deku Tree ends up dying because of this
Oh.
curse, which is sad because we like the Deku Tree. The Deku Tree is cool. With his dying breath, he sends Link and this fairy Navi on a quest to stop Ganondorf. And Navi is this one, the little blue one. The "Hey, listen!" That's Navi.
Oh,
So
okay.
Navi's almost like a guide again. As you see, like Link has some sort of guide helping him along the way. He had Fi, then he had Eslo, then he had some fairies. Now he's got Navi, so he's got like someone helping him out. And this is kind of how Ocarina of Time starts. So he meets Princess Zelda, who also, like him, is suspicious that Ganondorf is going to try to pull something. So they're like, "What if we get the Triforce? Excuse me. What if we get the Triforce first?" So they do that. They open the door of time. Link grabs the Master Sword, but then he actually gets sealed away for 7 years
Oh.
because he was a kid. He was too young, and that's why they sealed him away. So they're like, "No, no, you can come back when you're ready." And when he comes back, he's reawakened as the hero of time. However, in those 7 years, Ganondorf comes and he takes the Triforce. He
Right.
transforms Hyrule, fucks shit up. Um, but the Triforce actually splits because Ganondorf only wants it for power. So he keeps the Triforce of power. Link gets the one of courage, and Zelda gets the Triforce of wisdom. They find these pieces. So they use that. They use the Master Sword. In this game, there's 7 sages, and they use all these together to seal Ganondorf in the evil realm. Bye bye, Ganondorf. Ganondorf vows revenge, as he always does. Zelda, she uses the Ocarina of Time, which is it's that blue instrument that Link is using. It's like a little wind instrument,
Oh, okay.
but she uses that to return Link to his own time, where he places the Master Sword back in the pedestal and he closes the door of time. Now, when she does this, she just sent Link back in time. Now, in their current timeline, there is no Link because he just traveled back. So this timeline is called the adult timeline because they would have had an adult Link, but they didn't. So there's no Link in this timeline. So here's one timeline. Then you have the child timeline because he just went back 7 years to live out his child life. So that timeline is what happens in those 7 years now that he came back. Then there's a third timeline called the Fallen Hero timeline where Link actually loses to Ganondorf. And that's like the darkest timeline. Just
Oh.
it's a little sad. But there's some good games in that timeline. So that's where we're stopping. It splits into 3. So these games, the different games will fall under one of these timelines. But yeah, this is the
Uh-oh.
beginning. I'm gonna close the presentation while I have, but I hope I hope it wasn't too much. I don't know. I feel like it's so hard. Researching this was a lot. I think I went back, even today, I went back and changed a couple things because I was like, oh my God, this is just confusing. Like, what the
That
heck?
was a
But I
lot.
think, yeah, and that's only the beginning. I think the easiest way to understand it is that every game is almost like it's just they're reincarnated in some way, and there's going to be some parallels because you see some similarities, right?
Yeah.
Like Link and Zelda, some bad guy comes, they use some weapon or something. Some sages might help seal the bad guy away, and then the cycle repeats. And I feel like that's like the easiest way uh,
Oh,
to
let me
absorb it
do
all.
this. There we go. We're big now.
Yeah, we're big. We're big kids. So yeah, but I hope I made it clear
Yeah,
as I could. Like, it's just a lot. Like,
it's a lot,
where
but
did this world come from?
you did a good job.
Yeah, thanks. Sounds like that doesn't sound genuine.
No, no, you did. Like it made sense. Like
Mhm.
coming from
Yeah,
someone who's like I said, I know Link and Zelda.
yeah.
It makes more
I
sense.
also I didn't know the whole full timeline. Like
Mm.
I knew that Ganondorf is bad. I played Skyward Sword. I played of the games we talked about. I've played 3 out of the 4. The only one or if I played Four Sword, I don't remember it, so
Mm.
I don't count it as I played it. So actually, you know what? I might have because I remember Vati. No, that was Minish Cap. Never mind. So the games are fun. Like I like the games. I think it's cool. Like the story's really cool. Um, you get lots of puzzles and stuff. So if you like puzzles, you can explore in some of them more than others. Like the newer ones, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, you really can explore a lot. But yeah, I hope it was interesting.
Yeah,
I thought it was
I
cool. I
can't
was like,
wait to
wow,
see the 3 parts because like you ended it like at a cliffhanger. It's like, well, now
yeah.
we gotta wait for the next part.
Next week, yeah. Which timeline do you want to hear about first? Do you have a preference?
The sad one.
I knew you were gonna say that. Like she's gonna say the darkest
Yeah.
timeline.
Yeah.
But it's good. I think that's the one where Twilight Princess is in, and I love that game because it's so like art style wise, because I
Mm.
know you appreciate art style.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful game.
What
It's a
about
beautiful
the game the one that's like the blood moon rises? Cuz I remember watching you play that.
that's Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom.
Okay.
Those are the newest ones. Those actually I do not know where they fall in.
Okay.
And I think the interesting thing is those games came out after this Hyrule Historia thing.
Oh, okay.
So Nintendo, I need to check. I don't think they've officially said where they fit on the timeline. I think it's up to speculation.
Oh.
Um, some people, the one thing I did see in my early days of research was people predicted it to be after Spirit Tracks. So there's two games. I think this is in the adult timeline.
Mm.
There's Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks. They were the two DS games. Spirit Tracks, you're like on a train. That game was weird. I was not a big fan. I played it. I like Phantom Hourglass more, but it almost seemed like they're going to a different place.
Mm.
Because Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, everything's kind of in ruins too. So it seems like it's later. Because even like the Temple of Time is like ruined, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly. I think it's like all crumbly. So yeah, it's interesting. I'll have to look at it and see what different people theorize and see which one I agree with the most. Because I saw some wild theories. One theory I saw was that like Skyward Sword, the timeline splits at Skyward Sword, and I was like,
Oh.
oh yeah, and I can't even begin to explain it because I didn't really understand. And people dragged this person in the comments. I actually felt kind of bad because I'm like, wow, they really spent the time writing
Dang.
this out, and people are like, doesn't make sense. No, this
Dang.
that. I was like, yikes.
It's like, oh, okay. I'll just go,
Yeah, I'll go cry now.
Yeah.
I felt bad, but yeah. So next week we can talk about the darkest timeline,
Mm.
and I'll see how long that takes because maybe I can include one of the other timelines. It
Okay.
depends on time because I think like time wise, uh, it was a big chunk today. I feel like now that we've established who the people are,
Yeah.
it's easier to just be like, hey, in this reincarnation, this, that happens.
Mm.
You know, this one I think is the heaviest lift. Unless if they throw in some wild shit that I'm like, God damn it, and I have to explain something else.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, yeah. I hope everyone has a nice July 4th if you're in the US,
Oh
or if
yeah, this
not,
comes out on the 4th.
yeah. This is our
America.
yeah. So patriotic.
America.
We're talking about a Japanese
America.
game,
Fuck
Japanese game
yeah.
series.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, talking about a Japanese game series on July 4th.
It's okay. That's as
Very on
American
brand.
as it comes.
Yeah, it's all for us. So, but yeah, any other comments,
Uh
thoughts,
no, I'm
characters that you
just
liked, things that you thought were cool?
uh
Question.
I like the tree.
No.
The deco tree.
They just made a Lego
They
set of him.
Are you gonna buy it?
Yeah, I want to.
How much
I haven't done
what's
it
the
yet.
cost?
I don't think it matters. I think it costs what it
No.
costs. You want me to
No.
look? I can look
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now.
look.
And what's cool about it is you can set it up two different ways. It's a two-in-one.
Is that gonna let me guess the cost?
Oh,
Can I guess the cost?
yeah, you can.
$248.
It's more than that.
$480.
No, you're close. It's 300.
Damn. But there's
Okay.
two ways of setting it up.
There's two ways of setting it up. It's 2,500 pieces. Hold on. And you get two minifigures.
Of
You
what?
get the Link,
Oh.
you get a Link and Zelda minifigure. That's pretty sick. Oh my God, so you can build the Ocarina of Time Zelda or a Deku Tree or the Breath of the Wild Deku Tree. Oh my God, that's so cool.
Yeah,
Oh,
$300.
gee. Yeah, but it's a collectible.
Wow.
I'll think about it. That's a lot. I thought it was gonna be like 100. 100, I'm like, okay, but 300 is it's a
Yeah,
little
like
bit.
100
Oh,
I would have been
I can
like
stop streaming.
100 I would have been like okay.
Yeah,
But 300
for
it's
two in
like
one with two minifigures, because the minifigures are worth a lot.
yeah, but still 300 I wouldn't.
I can save up.
Yeah, first get a car.
Yeah, you're right. It's my money. I'll spend it how I want. I'll be like, you'll be like, hey Zorlda, did you buy that car? Nah, but I got the Legos.
I just see in the background of one of our streams, one of our podcasts, the deco tree. You're like, "Hey Vicky." I'm like, "Oh,
Like today we're gonna
Zorlda."
talk about Breath of the Wild.
Did you see anything
Imagine.
new? You see anything new in the background?
Oh, this old thing?
It just took me all
Yeah,
night.
no big deal. Well, on that note,
Yeah, on that note,
now
let's
that I'm getting dragged,
let's end it, and we'll see you guys next week.
yeah, bye everyone.
Bye.